Before alarms ring and before the first seagull cuts across the still water, a thin silver line of light travels the ocean to find these islands. It arrives quietly, lighting a temple's red gate, slipping through paper doors, and setting the mountains aglow for a brief, honest moment. In that breath, the islands seem to stand taller, as if an old story has finally been told. The day takes its first deep breath, and the world breathes with it. The air is a mix of cedar, sea salt, and the faint scent of ancient volcanoes. Cherry blossoms drift like secrets about to be let go. Winter's mountains fold the land into soft silence. Yet beneath that quiet, there is motion. Trains racing through hills with perfect timing. Neon streets glowing in colors the night invents. And a creativity that reshapes old traditions into something fresh. It's not conflict, but a dance. Ancient rituals and modern machines moving together in harmony. If you listen closely, the islands share their small, stubborn stories. A monk polishing a bowl until it gleams like moonlight. An old fisherman repairing his nets while gulls fight overhead. A child reciting a poem older than the city around them. Each moment is part of a song that refuses to fade into the background. If you stepped into this morning and let it change how you feel time, what would you take with you? And how much of that careful attention could you keep once you return to the noise beyond the horizon? The island nation of the rising sun. Japan is not merely a place on a map, it is an accumulation of edges, coastlines cut by wind and wave, mountain ridges stacked like the layers of a patient story, volcanic cones that rise with a kind of stern geometry against a changing sky. Imagine an archipelago strung across the western Pacific, each island a note in a long melody. These islands were born of geological violence, the movement of plates, the slow uprising of land, the sculpting of coastline by salt and storm. That force is a presence here, an underlying drumbeat that reminds every resident that the land can be both generous and unforgiving. Travel inland, and the geography insinuates itself into daily life. Rivers become lifelines, feeding flat terraces of rice that catch the light like folded mirrors. The patchwork of fields, farms, and villages nestles in valleys and along gentle slopes, each one a human response to the land's mood. Coastal towns are stitched to the sea. Their fates have long been written in tides and typhoons, in the bounty and the dangers of fishing. In the cities, people built skyward and inward, asking the same island for new kinds of space, offices, laboratories, theaters, while keeping small shrines in alleys and rooftop gardens as quiet anchors to the past. To be an island nation is to exist in a continual dialogue with the horizon. Ships and sails have long been the carriers of news, culture, and change. Ports were once the threshold where foreign goods, ideas, and technologies arrived and were carefully sifted and adapted. That history of selective reception, openness tempered by a desire to preserve identity, can still be felt in the particular ways the country has absorbed influences and made them its own. There is a humility to this process, a lesson in how cultures can both learn and hold fast. But geography does not just shape economies and architecture, it shapes temperament. There is a cultural sensibility here that prizes preparation and discipline, perhaps because storms come, because the earth shifts, and because every season carries with it an urgency. Plant when the rice paddies demand it, harvest before the first frost, repair and renew in the off-seasons. There is beauty in these practicalities, the way a farmer's hands know the soil, the way communities organize around shared labor, the quiet pride taken in tools kept sharp and boats well maintained. In that care lies a deep respect for continuity, for the work that tomorrow will require and for the hands that will carry it out. Wandering across these islands, you find countless small thresholds, a wooden gate that opens into a temple courtyard, a narrow lane that leads to a house with paper windows, a ferry slip where commuters board beneath the same sky fishermen have watched for generations. Each threshold invites a pause and a humility, a reminder that place matters. How different would our own days feel if each morning began with such a mindful crossing? A small ritual that sets the tone for everything that follows? Here, that practice has been refined over centuries, and it remains one of the island's most subtle offerings. The earth breathes. Onsen culture. Steam rises like a living memory from the ground, and in that steam the country exhales and remembers itself. Onsen are not simply hot baths. They are thresholds where the elemental, earth, water, fire, meets the human impulse to cleanse, to commune, to be still. Imagine a wooden bathhouse built low to the earth, its beams dark with age, where the sound of water joining water is the day's only clock. Outside, a snowflake lands and dissolves into a cloud of warmth. Inside, a traveler loosens a sash and feels the tension of hours, days, or even years begin to float away. The mineral waters taste of the mountain and the planet. Iron, sulfur, silica. All the signatures of a subterranean fire. Each spring has its own character. Some waters soothe aching joints and calloused hands. Others clear the mind or are believed to cure a specific affliction. The rituals around the bath are as deliberate as the ritual of prayer. Cleanse before entering. Settle into the heat. Speak softly or not at all. And depart feeling lighter in body and mind. In many onsen towns, the public bath is the village's living room, where neighbors trade news and jokes, and where strangers become companions in silence. There is a humility in the practice. You offer your bare self to the world and accept the world's warmth. Have you ever known a place where the land itself seemed to offer a balm so literal it alters the shape of your thoughts? The soul of Japan. To speak of the soul of a people risks cliché, yet in Japan the idea takes on a near tangible shape, a braided current of beliefs, aesthetics, rituals, and daily habits that together make a particular way of paying attention to the world. At the heart of this weave are ideas that act like lenses through which life is perceived. Mono no aware, the gentle ache of things passing, teaches that beauty is heightened by the knowledge of finitude. Cherry blossoms are lovelier because they fall. Wabi-sabi finds grace in imperfection, in the hairline crack repaired with gold, the rough edge of pottery that holds a better truth than flawless machine polish. Shibui prizes a subtle, unobtrusive elegance, the feel of hand-tied obi against a kimono, not meant to shout, but to reveal itself upon closer look. These are not mere words on a page. They appear in the way a shopkeeper wraps a purchase so carefully it becomes a small ritual, or in the hush that descends as dusk settles on a temple path. Religious practice forms a living backbone. Shinto, the native spirituality of Japan, invests spirit, kami, in weathered rocks, swift streams, towering cedars, and ancestral hearths. Offerings are small, often seasonal, a bright leaf set on an altar, a bowl of rice, a simple prayer. Buddhism, particularly Zen and Pure Land traditions, introduces reflection on suffering and impermanence and gives practices for stillness, seated meditation, precise temple procedures, sutra chanting. The two systems coexist as complementary orientations rather than antagonists. The same person might bow at a Shinto gate on New Year's Day, perform Buddhist memorial rites for an ancestor, and keep a household altar for both. This layered religious life informs civic celebrations. Obon dances to welcome ancestral spirits in summer. New Year's shrine visits bring families together for blessings, and seasonal festivals often blend theatricality with devotion. Social norms and etiquette grow from these spiritual and aesthetic roots. Bowing is not merely a formal gesture, but a grammar of respect, calibrated by degree and context. Gift giving, from seasonal Ochugan gifts in summer to thoughtfully wrapped souvenirs after a trip, follows an economy of meaning, where the manner of presentation can be as significant as the item itself. The notion of omoyari, empathy and anticipating another's needs, is visible in small public acts. The quiet that falls in a train car, The meticulousness of service in a ryokan, the unasked for help with baggage that arrives before it's requested. A set of ethical and social codes has also been distilled across centuries. Bushido, the samurai ethic, left behind an imprint of duty, loyalty, and self-control. Though the swords are gone from daily life, elements of that code survive in devotion to craft, workplace loyalty, and the stoic endurance often admired in public discourse. At the same time, the tea ceremony, chanoyu or chado, teaches hospitality as choreography, each movement calibrated, utensils chosen for season, silence used as punctuation. Kaiseki cuisine, developed from the tea tradition, converts seasonal abundance into an architecture of taste. Courses presented like pages in a poem, plateware selected for texture and hue, and flavors that emphasize subtlety over force. Art and craft are where the soul becomes visible. Calligraphy captures mind and moment. The brushstroke is a record of breath and intention. Ikebana arranges line and empty space to make a statement about the seasons. Potters, lacquerers, textile dyers, and swordsmiths work in parallel with temple priests and neighborhood volunteers to keep living knowledge alive. Traditional forms coexist with radical contemporary practices. A Kyoto potter may also glaze experimental work for an international gallery. A young musician might sample shakuhachi and synths in the same composition. Even Japan's technological bravado carries a quieting ethic. Precision engineering often aims not for display, but for stewardship. Trains that run on time, systems designed to minimize waste, devices conceived to make small daily tasks easier. The result is an identity that is neither fossilized nor frenzied. It is adaptive, exacting, and capable of surprising tenderness. What does it ask of a visitor? Perhaps to slow down, to learn the language of small courtesies, and to let the country's patient arts teach you how to see. Kyoto, keeper of the sacred. Kyoto is more than a city. It is a palimpsest in which centuries of political authority, religious life, and artisan skill have layered their marks until the whole place reads like a continuous scroll. For more than 1,000 years, Kyoto was the imperial capital, and that history leaves a palpable weight. The streets hold processions that trace the footsteps of courtiers. Tea houses hide behind latticework as if guarding secrets, and gardens are designed to be read as metaphors. Seasonal rites structure the city's year. Aoi Matsuri in May threads the city with aristocratic pageantry that dates to Heian court practice. Gion Matsuri in July erupts into the summer with ornate floats and neighborhood pride so intense it becomes a year-long undertaking. Jidai Matsuri in October stages a procession of historical costumes that reads Kyoto's history aloud in slow, ceremonial rhythm. The city's sacred geography is defined by a constellation of sites that are layered with meaning. Kiyomizu-dera perches on a wooded slope, its wooden stage jutting above the city like a human-made cliff. Pilgrims and tourists alike come for the view and for the ritual of slaking vows at its springs. Fushimi Inari's 1,000 vermilion torii gates form a shifting tunnel of devotion that climbs into forested hills, a pilgrimage path that is both ecstatic and intimate. Kinkaku-ji, the Golden Pavilion, and Ginkaku-ji, the Silver Pavilion, are aesthetic complements. One gilded and reflective, the other serene and contemplative, each presenting a different ideal of beauty. Ryoanji's rock garden distills landscape into 13 stones and raked gravel, inviting an encounter with restraint and imagination. Beneath and between these monuments lives Kyoto's quieter, craft-driven existence. The machiya, narrow wooden townhouses with tiled roofs, deep eaves, and an engawa, veranda, facing a tiny inner garden, tsuboniwa, are the skeletal frame of neighborhoods where family businesses pass knowledge down through generations. In Nishijin, cloth is woven on looms that have been adapted across eras to produce textiles both extravagant and precise. The patterned brocades used for ceremonial kimono are the result of decades of refinement. Kyoyuzen dyeing decorates silk with brilliant yet subtle colorings. Pottery styles such as kiyomizu reflect local clay and kiln traditions. Kyo washi paper, handmade and textured, is used for screens, lamps, and ceremonies. Craftspeople keep tacit knowledge in muscle memory. The lift of the shuttle, the pressure of a clamp, the precise timing of firing. These practices are reservoirs of collective memory. Geisha culture, more accurately Geiko in Kyoto and Maiko for apprentices, is a living conservatory of classical music, dance, and etiquette. A Geiko's training can take many years. She learns refined speech, courtly dance pieces, shamisen accompaniment, and the arts of hostessing that hold a conversation like a delicate vessel. Gion's narrow lanes come alive at dusk when lanterns glow, and the possibility of glimpsing a Maiko in embroidered kimono and elaborate hairstyle appears like another era breathing through the night. The geisha world is not static folklore, but a disciplined profession that demands craft as exacting as that of any artisan. Practice routines, apprenticeship, and a social code that values discretion as much as performance. Kyoto's culinary world reflects this devotion to season and form. The city is the birthplace of kaiseki, the multi-course dining tradition that evolved from tea ceremony hospitality into a full expression of seasonal aesthetics. Small plates arranged to evoke a landscape, tastes layered to prepare and cleanse the palate, and tableware chosen as carefully as the ingredients. Local markets like Nishiki Market hum with vendors selling pickled vegetables, fresh fish, and specialty seasonings. There you can taste preserved flavors that have kept families fed across centuries. Preservation is a constant negotiation here. The city shelters both UNESCO-listed monuments and living neighborhoods whose survival depends on economic choices. Tourism brings vital income, but also pressure on fragile alleys and century-old houses. Artisans sometimes take on restoration work for temples, and educational programs aim to recruit young apprentices into trades that might otherwise vanish. Temples and shrines act as cultural stewards, funding festivals, commissioning artisans, and storing archives that document lineage and practice. In this way, Kyoto operates as both museum and laboratory, a place where conservation meets reinvention. To walk Kyoto is to read history at a human scale. It is to pass a paper lantern glow, then a stone stair worn by centuries of feet, then a storefront displaying lacquer trays still made by hand. It is to stand on a temple veranda while maple leaves spin like coins in an autumn wind, to hear the faint pluck of a shamisen echoing in a tea house, and to see a young designer riff on a traditional motif for a modern jacket. How would your days alter if you learned to value the tiny repetitions that sustain a culture? The morning sweep of a stoop, the exact fold of a cloth, the patient apprenticeship of craft. Kyoto suggests that reverence can be practice, not merely feeling, that the sacred is often built with the humble bricks of daily repetition. Tokyo and its icons. Tokyo is an organism of light and motion, a metropolis that seems to have decided to be everything at once. Some neighborhoods pulse with precise energy. Shibuya's scramble of pedestrians creates a living tide. Harajuku spins with youth fashion like a carnival. Akihabara hums with electronics and the fervor of hobbyist devotion. At the same time, pockets of serenity persist. A small shrine tucked between glass towers, a tranquil garden in the shadow of a stadium. The city's icons are less about monuments and more about experiences. The hum of trains beneath your feet, the smell of tempura frying at dusk, the hush of a private garden where koi pry open the water for a crust of bread. Here, speed and patience cohabit. People move quickly, yet there is a carefulness to their rapidity. Trains arrive exactly on schedule. Transactions are completed with a quiet efficiency, and public spaces are respected with uncommon civility. Tokyo's scale can be intoxicating. Skyscrapers that make you feel like an insect, neon canvases that rewrite the night sky. tiny cafes where a single barista can orchestrate an evening's worth of memory. In this city of extremes, where do you find a place to be wholly yourself? Cities of character. Beyond Tokyo's roar lie cities with distinct personalities, places that each seem to represent a particular note in the nation's symphony. Osaka greets you with a laugh and a hot, effervescent appetite. Its markets and food stalls are a celebration of indulgence and conviviality. People speak plainly and quickly. The city's humor and warmth are as famous as its cuisine. Yokohama tells a different story of ports and exchange, cosmopolitan energy, and the slow, patient architecture of trade. Sapporo up north breathes cooler air, boasting wide avenues and a culture of festivals where snow sculptures and beer share equal honor. Each city holds its own memory and craft. Nagoya's industrial might, Kanazawa's preserved samurai districts and meticulously tended gardens, Nara's deer-strewn temples with their quiet grandeur. Travel from place to place, and you feel a nation made of neighborhoods that hold tight to their own histories while welcoming the stranger. Which city's rhythm would you choose for the rest of your life? Castles of stone and history. Castles in Japan are not merely relics. They are monuments that embody narratives of power, patronage, and defense. Himeji stands in blinding white, its silhouette elegant and intentional, an architectural poem of optics and purpose. Matsumoto, with its darkened timbers and mirror-smooth moat, projects a different mood, stern, defensive, but also mournfully beautiful. These fortifications tell a human story, the rise and fall of daimyo, the negotiation between feudal ambition and local communities, the carefulness of construction that required generations. Many castles are perched where they can command a valley or river. Their stonework, gates, and layered roofs were designed to confuse and slow an attacker while giving defenders exacting control over the battlefield. Today, their moats are places for gentle reflection. Children sail toy boats on their waters, and tourists pose beneath cherry blossoms. To stand in the shadow of a keep is to feel the compression of histories that once decided the fate of lives. What tensions between power and beauty do these stones still whisper to us? Islands, volcanoes, and peaks. The archipelago stretches like an instruction manual for variety. Subtropical beaches in the south, volcanic plateaus in the center, and Arctic-like expanses to the north. Mount Fuji rises as a symbol and a geometry of perfect form, its cone a mirror for the human appetite for the sublime. Yet beyond Fuji, the terrain is a catalog of microclimates and distinct ecologies, volcanic chain ranges that steam and simmer, islands that host cultures different from the main islands, and coastlines that fold inland into sacred bays. Hike a remote trail, and you might find a volcanically warmed valley where unique flora thrives, or a seabird colony on a cliff that smells like pure salt and guano and the cry of survival. The sea around the islands is both barrier and highway. Currents that once directed migratory fish and traders now steer ships laden with goods, tourists, and stories. In the south, coral reefs burble with life and the smell of the tropics. In the north, fields of lupine and the hush of snow reveal a different palette. Which landscape would you pace until you understood its language? Crater edge, coral reef, or alpine ridge? Shadows of war, symbols of peace. There are places where memory has weight and presence, and Hiroshima and Nagasaki are among them. Cities where silence gathers like a fabric, and where landscape itself has been trained into a language of testimony. Walk into Hiroshima's Peace Memorial Park, and the sequence of things arranges itself into a lesson. Lawns and pathways, benches and placards, children's drawings sealed in plexiglass, and then the skeletal outline of the atomic bomb dome. Its charred frame frozen into the exact posture of the moment it refused to fall. Around it, the city has remade itself with gardens, museums, schools, and libraries. but the memory is neither erased nor ornamental. Every year, local people and visitors fold thousands of paper cranes into strings, leaving them at monuments like petitions, tiny, fragile prayers for a future that will not repeat the past. The story of Sadako Sasaki, a child who folded cranes as a wish for health and peace, has become a quiet emblem. Her cranes are simple, human testimony that accumulates into a communal insistence on remembrance. Museums here do not only show objects, they try to shape understanding. Exhibits arrange shoes, bicycles, watches stopped in time, each artifact a human life interrupted, to ask not only what happened, but why and how we might respond. Oral histories and recorded testimonies of Hibakusha, the survivors, move the remembrance from abstract political argument into the register of lived consequence. Accounts of heat and silence, the long shadow of radiation illness, the slow, courageous work of rebuilding family and community. Memorial architecture itself becomes pedagogy. Landscape spaces designed for reflection, water features that cool the eye, and walls that invite the touch of names and carved words. Communities also translate grief into civic action, peace festivals, international exchanges, and anti-nuclear advocacy led by survivors and their descendants, who turn the memory of suffering into the fuel for public conscience. Nagasaki's memory sits differently, shaped by a harbor city's topography of hills and inlets. Its Peace Park and museums collect the city's narrative in a different key. The contours of its port, the layers of Christian history in hidden churches, and the dense human geography that made the blast's consequences particular. Both cities hold the awkward tension of reconstructed life, schools playing, commerce humming, people falling in love and growing old under the shade of trees planted after reconstruction. There are also difficult debates about how to remember, what music is appropriate in memorial ceremonies, how to balance rebuild with preservation, and how to counsel new generations to carry memory without being crushed by it. The act of commemoration is not a single ritual, but an ongoing civic choreography, one that asks each citizen and visitor to bear witness. And then there are the public rituals that reforge memory into social vow. Lantern floating ceremonies where paper boats or lanterns drift over rivers, carrying names and wishes. The planting of trees and the commissioning of sculptures that translate grief into form. School curriculums that teach survivors' stories as part of civic education. These actions are not only local, they reach outward through exchanges with other nations, joint peace projects, and dialogues that ask larger questions about the ethics of science, the limits of technology, and the human cost of strategic decisions. Standing in these parks, you feel the patient insistence that beauty and life continue, and with them, an imperative. Do we have the wisdom to change our behavior so the lessons of these places are not merely commemorative, but transformative? What responsibility does a living society hold toward its future when its past has been so violently remade? Nature, peoples, and lakeside beauty. Japan's landscapes are intimate teachers. They shape diets, songs, crafts, and cosmologies. Travel north to Hokkaido, and you enter a world where plains and dense forests teach a patience foreign to city urgency. There, the Ainu people maintain a presence and practice whose depth predates many modern narratives. Carved in wood and woven into song are genealogies and cosmologies, stories of bears and kamui, spirit beings, of rivers that must be treated as kin. Traditional Ainu arts, wood carving, embroidery, and the haunting breathy flute, called the mukuri, encode ecological knowledge. Where salmon run and when the birch bark peels cleanly for basketry. How to treat a place that fed your grandparents and will feed your grandchildren. The Ainu's seasonal rituals, once private and suppressed, later revived, connect community life to animal cycles and migration patterns, teaching respect for reciprocity rather than domination. Further south, Lake Biwa's broad shoulders have held fishermen's nets and poets' metaphors for centuries. It is Japan's greatest freshwater lake, an ecosystem that supports unique species and human communities who evolved with the seasons of its water. Fisherfolk here once navigated by the lake's moods, reading swells for best net-setting days and timing harvests to lunar arcs. In coastal waters, the economy of the sea is ancient and inventive. Ama divers, women who free dive for abalone and shellfish, operate by technique passed across generations, while modern aquaculture industries cultivate nori and oysters, and pearl farming, pioneered in places like Toba, produced cultured pearls that reshaped luxury crafts and local livelihoods. The Ryukyu Islands stretch into subtropical gradients where coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangroves build a biodiverse frontier. Islanders in Okinawa and the Yaeyama chain maintain languages and customs that differ from the main islands. Distinct dances, music punctuated by the sanshin, a three-stringed lute, and community festivals like Isa, where drumming and dance bind neighborhoods each summer. Here, the ocean is a teacher. The rhythm of tides structures life, and reef health is directly tied to food security and culture. Small island communities have also developed resilient practices, multi-species fishing arrangements, taboo periods for spawning sites, and oral lore for reading currents that modern conservationists now study with respect. Japan's national parks and protected areas are not only scenic backdrops, but living laboratories. From Shiratoko's dramatic headlands, where brown bears and salmon coexist, to the volcanic calderas of Akanmashu and the alpine meadows of the Japan Alps, biodiversity conservation is intertwined with local livelihoods, inns and guides that practice low-impact tourism, shepherding projects that maintain open grasslands, and volunteer networks that restore native plantings to stabilize erosion. The concept of Satayama, the mosaic of managed woodland, rice paddies, and hedgerows, illustrates a traditional approach to landscape stewardship. Humans as participants in ecological cycles, harvesting without annihilating, maintaining habitats through small-scale agriculture and rotational use. Where Satoyama persists, you often find richer biodiversity and resilient water cycles. Where it fades, monoculture and ecological vulnerability can follow. Sitting by Kawaguchiko at dawn or walking a tide flat at low water, you sense a ledger of reciprocal obligations, indigenous and local knowledge, how to tell the weather by a bird's flight, where to find a spring that will not run dry, when to leave a coral reef alone, are not quaint anecdotes, but survival technologies. In contemporary times, these practices are being reframed as critical assets in climate adaptation, floodplain management informed by long-standing observation, coastal protection through restored kelp beds, and agriculture that revives heirloom rice varieties for climate resilience. These are not abstractions, but acts of belonging. Communities who treat landscapes as elders and neighbors, rather than mere resources. If you listen closely, nature and people in Japan converse constantly. A fisherman will speak of currents as one speaks of family. A farmer will time planting by the cicada's call. Elders will teach children not just how to fish or weave, but why place matters. What does it mean to inherit a landscape and choose to live in a way that keeps it hospitable for those who follow? How might our own relationships to water, wind, and soil change if we thought of them as neighbors rather than commodities? The eternal balance. By the time night folds over the islands, the country is a mosaic of contrasts that somehow function as a single breath. The last commuter train slides into a station, its lights dimming like a last eye closing. A temple bell tolls at midnight and ripples into neighborhoods where families sit with bowls of rice and shared memory. Modernity and tradition do not fight here. They join in a choreography that insists upon attention and care. From the onsen's steam to the market's clatter, from the hush of Kyoto's paths to Tokyo's neon roar, Japan teaches a disciplined art of presence. To respect the past, to temper invention with reverence, and to make beauty an everyday obligation. If you carry one thing outward from the islands, let it be this: that a life carefully lived is often the most daring possibility of all. Which of these lessons will you choose to make your own? And how will it change the way you wake each morning?